ESPN as part of Holiday Hoops presented by Zales. Tonight from Moody Coliseum in Dallas, the Stanford Cardinal takes on the SMU Mustangs. And welcome everybody to Big D. Doug Sherman along with former Arizona Wildcat Miles Simon. So glad you could join us here tonight. We're going to get a chance to see two guys who are not necessarily both power forwards, but Miles, they are both powerful forwards.
Yeah, they really are, and they are two of the best forwards that you're going to see in college basketball this year. First, for the Stanford Cardinal, it starts with and ends with Reed Travis and how well he plays. This is a guy coming off of injury from last season. He's averaging 18 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds per game. He consistently draws double teams, plays with his back to the basket. He's a physical post player, and this is somebody the Mustangs must account for on every possession. And on the other side of the ball, Semi Ojeleye, one of the most versatile forwards in the country. He plays inside and out. Coach Tim Jacobich moves him all around the floor. He can knock down threes at 44%, puts the ball on the floor and penetrates. Should be an excellent matchup between those two guys.
Travis and Ojeleye. Travis told us this morning after shoot-around, one of his stated goals is to get his opponent to pick up 2 personal fouls before the first 4 minutes in the game are done. Interesting lineup for SMU. They really don't have a traditional point guard, don't have a traditional center, but what they have, Miles, is a lot of talent in between.
Yeah, and I think a lot of versatility with the size that they have in the backcourt, 6'6", 6'6", and 6'6". They can put those guys in different positions and try to exploit mismatches all over the floor.
Meanwhile, for Stanford, this is the second game in a row that Michael Humphrey will come off the bench. Grant Verhoeven, the steady senior, starts in the pivot. And we are set for basketball here at Moody Coliseum. Ojeleye wins the tip for SMU, and the Mustangs in their home whites with the red lettering has the basketball first.
Now, when you watch this SMU team play, they want to get to Ojeleye and Shake Milton. Those are the two guys they want to get going early.
Well, that didn't take long. 15 seconds in, Ojeleye's on the board. Sterling Brown and Shake Milton, the terrific combos in the backcourt for the Mustangs. Foster, terrific feed. Ben Moore lays it in.
Well, here's some of the versatility just in the first 2 possessions. What SMU does a great job of is spacing the floor. Because they don't have a traditional post guy right now, they'll put Moore and Ojeleye on the perimeter, set ball screens, slip them to the rim, and because you have shooters around them, the floor is really spaced out, and you can see the openings in the paint for 2 layups.
Christian Sanders and Marcus Allen start in the backcourt for the Cardinal. Under 10 to shoot. 1 minute in.
And here's the problem for Stanford. If you can't get it to Reed Travis, who are your other options to get the basketball? It has to be Dorian Pickens on the perimeter.
Yeah, Pickens shoots it at 44%. Nobody else is over 30 on the Stanford roster.
But look right now, 5 guys outside the 3-point line besides Shake Milton driving the basketball. And again, the paint is just wide open.
No basket, foul before Ben Moore took the shot.
That's a continuation. Well, we look on the first possession, Semi Ojeleye just slips. Reed Travis gets caught away from his man. The good pivot and the nice finish. And then Ben Moore pick and roll. Nobody to help because shooters are all around, and the easy finish for the Mustangs.
Off the foul, the Mustangs keep it, and they build their lead even more. DeRay Foster's 3 makes it 7-0. Then Brown the block shot on Verhoeven. And it's Stanford basketball on the baseline.
Well, now they've gotten 2 baskets on the inside, and now look, you go to help if you're Stanford. Christian Sanders, you never help off a ball side shooter, and DeRay Foster makes him pay from the corner.
Off of a terrific touch pass from Ben Moore, who at 6'8" plays the center position, but he's far more versatile than that. We've already gotten a taste of what 0-0 can do for SMU.
If you're the Cardinal right now, you got to somehow find Reed Travis.
Shake Milton, the sophomore guard from Owasso, Oklahoma. Sterling Brown into the lane, hangs in the air, wave off the basket. That's an offensive foul.
And Grant Verhoeven is the best on the team at taking charges. The big fella steps right in, takes it right to his chest, gets out of the restricted area. Young man who took 5 charges in a game earlier this year. against Seton Hall.
Head coach Tim Jankovic in his first year as the full-time head coach of the Mustangs. Of course, he coached the first 9 games last year when Larry Brown was suspended for those 9 games. They went 9-0. This year he is 8-3. Moore drive and kick it back out to Milton. Brown goes around Sanders. Draws the contact. And it's a blocking foul, so count the basket and a chance for 3.
Well, you watch an excellent drive to the hoop by Sterling Brown. Verhoeven tries to go over there and take a second charge here in the first few minutes of the game, but he's still sliding underneath the shooter as Brown was going up.
Miles, that is his second personal foul. And so Michael Humphrey will check in. Also coming into the game for the first time for Stanford, Robert Cartwright, the sophomore point guard. And he takes the place of Christian Sanders.
Well, I talked to Coach about Sterling Brown. He's a younger brother of Shannon Brown. Played in the NBA for a long time. Both of them went to Proviso East High School, powerhouse in the Chicago area. Doc Rivers, Michael Finley.
Here's Cartwright with the basketball. He's a remarkable story. Humphrey turns it over. Steal by Brown. And he goes coast to coast.
Coach is going to need a timeout.
It's a 12-0 start to the ball game for SMU. Back to Dallas in 30 seconds. Coach of the Cardinal, Jared Haas, has to burn his first timeout. First-year head coach out of Kansas, and his team has gotten off to a nightmare beginning here, Miles.
Yeah, and this is an experienced roster that Coach Haas inherited. 10 of his top 11 scorers are back, guys that have played serious minutes over their career. They shouldn't be intimidated by an environment like this. They played in hostile places in the Pac-12 and in the non-conference before, but they look a little bit rattled so far in the first 3.5 minutes.
Humphrey off the mark. It's one and done again for the Cardinal. Brown gives to Moore, and he lays it in to make it 14-0.
And right now they have no answer for this offense of SMU. The spread offense, pick and rolls. Stanford might need to switch to his own defense just so they can get guys set on the defensive end, because the rotations are not there on the backside right now for the Cardinal.
And I'll tell you what, 4 minutes in, Reed Travis has not touched the basketball on the offensive end. Cartwright shoots over top for their first 3.
That's not only big for the Cardinal, but that's big for Robert Cartwright. And here you see the first possession of zone for the Cardinal. But Robert Cartwright, a young man who had a compound fracture in his right forearm. That's why he wears the sleeve, has tremendously bad scarring on that from 3 surgeries.
Shimmy Ojale now with 5. It is remarkable what Robert Cartwright has had to go through just to get back onto a court, but also to have normal function and feel in his arm and hand.
Yeah, there was nerve damage to his arm. He almost wasn't going to be able to play basketball again if that feeling didn't come back. And there's where Humphrey's been struggling as of late. Not finishing around the basket, playing with a high motor, being aggressive. Humphrey's one of the best athletes on the team. He has to go up and dunk that basketball and finish strong. Those are points that can't be left on the board if you're Stanford.
And SMU is a terrific rebounding team, and it's been tough for Stanford to get any second opportunities so far.
And right now in this zone, defense can exploit a couple of the weaknesses.
Well, Foster knows how to go up and finish.
And one of the weaknesses is a big guy having to go out in the corner and guarding a guy like Jeray Foster. But SMU also a very good three-point shooting team if they can spread that zone out and get in the gaps.
Here is Travis. Pickens into Humphrey. And he will head to the free throw line to shoot 2.
Well, it's a mismatch early in Moody Coliseum, and Jeray Foster exploiting that mismatch. The quick first step, and he gets up high to throw down hard.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Zales. Celebrate your lasting love with gifts from Zales, the Diamond Store.
Yes, the 43rd President of the United States is sitting about 4 seats to our left. George W. Bush just introduced during that timeout. And he is a regular along with his wife, Laura Bush, who herself is an alumna of SMU. And it's not unusual for them to come and root on their hometown Mustangs.
Yeah, and right now they're watching a clinic being put on by Tim Jankovich and this SMU Mustang team, especially on the offensive end. They are 8 for 8 from the field, Doug. They've assisted on 6 of those 8 field goals. Very impressive start here within the first 5.5 minutes.
SMU has 6 assists on 8 for 8 field goals. Stanford, meanwhile, just the one made bucket. Now Humphrey gets the free throw. He's a junior from Phoenix, Arizona, who was part of a tremendous recruiting class 3 years ago, back in 2014. He was number 65 in the ESPN 100. Reed Travis, along with Pickens and Cartwright, were all part of that class. All 4 were top 100.
Yeah, and I feel they're all really good players. With Humphrey, they just need more consistency, better energy and motor every time out that he steps on the floor. That's why Verhoeven has gotten the start the last couple games, because Verhoeven has kind of brought his hard hat, been a blue-collar guy, game in and game out this year.
Josh Sharma, 7-foot center from Lexington, Mass, into the game. Marcus Sheffield as well. They need offense out of him. Number 14 in Cardinal. Foster gets the miss, gives it back to Milton.
And what's amazing about this start for SMU is that their second leading scorer, Shake Milton, he's not on the board yet. Now is his first shot attempt.
6 minutes gone by. And here is Sheffield, and he shoots an air ball in his first attempt. Sharma had it, lost it. Travis lost it out of bounds. But Stanford will keep possession.
Well, Doug, here's one of the things that I'm watching early in this game for SMU. Because Stanford is such a poor three-point shooting team, they're only 28% as a team, and Dorian Pickens has made a majority of those threes and has the best percentage. Watch SMU just packing in the lane, staying everything almost inside the three-point arc, and that's causing Stanford to not be able to get the ball inside just like that to Reed Travis. Because there's 2 or 3 defenders, he's being team defended by SMU.
Sharma the slam off the feed from Cartwright. Deshaun McDowell, freshman guard, has the basketball off the bench for the Mustangs.
This is one of the adjustments in the last couple games that Coach Jankovich has made. McDowell running a little bit more point, allowing Shake Milton to go back to his natural shooting guard position.
Ben Amelagu with the 3, and that is a huge good sign for the Mustangs. He's been the only one this year not shooting it well.
Look how SMU's guarding. Really no feet outside of the three-point line, and Reed Travis is now having to come on the perimeter to catch where he's more comfortable at 6 or 7 feet.
Tough shot for Pickens. Here's Amelagu with the basketball. He played his freshman year at Virginia Tech. Moore again in the lane, doing anything he wants.
Stanford's got to get down in a stance, move their feet, get some help side, start talking on the defensive end.
Cartwright, no, 1 and done. Big, powerful rebound from Jeray Foster, the sophomore from Houston.
And that's a bad shot by Cartwright. Your team has no rhythm, no flow on the offensive end. Your best player really hasn't touched the ball all game, and you come down and shoot a 3 off of no passes.
Unselfish offense, got a wide open look, but Foster misfired.
Travis needs to work probably in the high post area. Get an elbow touch so he can penetrate.
Sheffield. And Stanford remains stone cold, 2 for 13 from the field. Seven to shoot. Back out front for Shake Milton. Open look, McDowell. Everything going the Mustangs' way.
Well, that's a mistake by Sheffield. You never help off a ball side shooter. Shake Milton, a little bit of penetration to his right. Sheffield takes a step over, and you can't leave a guy like that in the corner.
An illegal screen called against Josh Sharma. The lead is 20, and the folks at Moody Coliseum in Dallas love it. Which doesn't sit well with the folks in red in that state.
Yeah, but how fun is that game going to be, especially Kentucky coming off that classic on Saturday in Las Vegas. Malik Monk was an absolute stud. 47 points, are you kidding me? Big shot after big shot. But it'll be a challenge for the freshman backcourt of Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox going against the switching defenses that Louisville will implement. And Donovan Mitchell, Quentin Snyder, Deng Adele, those guys have some length. They are very smart with what they do on the defensive end, the zones. They'll try to make Kentucky a jump shooting team. Everybody but Malik Monk, that is. But that's going to be a heck of a game.
Sheffield tries to go Euro step, and he's called for the offensive foul.
Great job by Shake Milton to get back in transition, plant his feet, anticipate what Sheffield was going to do, and draw that charge. Marcus Sheffield, one of the most talented players in the Cardinal. He's excellent in transition, but Shake Milton stands his ground, and I know, yes, he took it to his shoulder, but he was already set, feet planted before Sheffield went into his move. Now here's a tough mismatch. Meligu being guarded by Humphrey. Now Meligu should try to put the ball on the floor and try to drive by Humphrey if he has the opportunity to do that.
Driving along the baseline with Sterling Brown, where he was fouled. That's another tough mismatch for Christian Sanders defensively, trying to keep somebody like Shake Milton in front of us.
And it was one of the biggest concerns that Coach Haas talked to us about in shoot-around today. He said, can we contain the dribble penetration of this SMU team? Because it's not just one or two guys. It's their big guys that can put the ball on the floor. And their big guys aren't necessarily centers, but they're versatile forwards that have a lot of skill.
Meligu was 4 for 27 from distance coming into the game. He's a perfect 2 for 2. Everything going SMU's way.
So right now for Stanford, you have Pickens out of the game, who's their second leading scorer, and Reed Travis not in the game. Where's the offense going to come from for the Cardinal?
And neither of those guys has scored for Stanford. Neither, when they were on the floor, even involved in the offense. And we're past the midpoint of the first half.
Well, some of that you can credit to SMU and their defensive game plan and what they did to take away Reed Travis.
Meligu is feeling it. Well, this SMU bench may not be deep in terms of numbers, but it has talent coming off the bench.
Go right back to him.
Sheffield kicks to the corner. Marcus Allen off the back iron. The Mustangs have rattled off the last 14. This crowd would have really erupted if that one had gone for Ogilvy. Sheffield leans in, tough shot, off glass for 2.
Nice job. Jared Haas is really high on Marcus Sheffield. This is a young man from Alpharetta, Georgia, 6'5", 180. Can get a little bit stronger, but he's really maybe their most talented player. Good in transition, can shoot the 3. Potential to be an excellent defender.
Milton in and out, and a foul on the rebound. It goes against Humphrey.
You know what, but I'm okay with that one because Humphrey was trying to put a body on Ogilvy, but he just got caught face guarding and putting too much hands on him.
Well, there's the balance for SMU, and again, they only go really 7 deep, but you don't have a problem with that, right, Miles?
Absolutely not. I love teams. If you have 7 or 8 really good players, that's the rotation I want to have. I think depth is really an overrated thing in college basketball. Unless you have injuries, or foul trouble, you only need about 7 good guys to really play and be very competitive in games. And Coach Jankovic and I had a long talk about it at shoot-around today. He's more than happy to just have these 7 on the floor. Now, does he wish he had more of a pure point guard? Yes, but he loves the guys that he have and the versatility that these guys have. And one of the advantages of only playing 7 really good players, if you're playing a team that goes 10 deep traditionally, you're going to get a stretch in the game at some point where your starters are going to get about a 3 or 4 minute stretch against the 8th, 9th, and 10th guy from your opponent. And that should be an advantage for you because you have your best players on the floor.
Strong drive to the basket by Cameron Walker as Jared Haas goes deeper into his bench. Nothing working, though, for the Cardinal. It is all Mustangs so far. Game, Miles Simon. Stanford's starters are still scoreless.
That's amazing. I don't know if I've ever seen that 13 minutes into a game. Now, I know they only have 9 points, but for one of your 5 starters to not have any of those 9, truly amazing through 12.5 minutes.
And when you dig yourself such a big hole and you don't have the three-point shot as a viable weapon for the most part, it makes it that much tougher to come back.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill climb, obviously, the rest of the night for the Stanford team.
But mostly, okay, if your offense is struggling, you still got to be able to hang your hat on the defensive end. Get down in a stance, shut them down, close out to the shooters, make multiple effort plays, but you're not seeing that from the Cardinal through the first 12 minutes of the game.
Cameron Walker at the free throw line. He gets the roll on the second after missing the first. Milton and Brown in the backcourt. Moore, Foster, and Amelagu up front for the Mustangs. Here goes Milton, drive and dish to the corner. Foster wide open. Moore may have gotten away with a push, able to get the offensive rebound.
And you see, because Stanford's had trouble guarding, now they've had to go to a small lineup. They put in Cameron Walker now at the 4 and have moved Reed Travis to the 5 spot. So they've had to match down to what SMU is doing.
Both sides knew coming in it could be a battle of wills with those mismatches. And who would have the better of it, clearly. The scoreboard tells you that it's been all SMU. Foster picks up his first personal foul. And the 4th against SMU.
Well, what's really getting exposed right now is that Stanford is really a 2-man team for the most part. If Reed Travis is not going, other guys are not able to pick up the slack. Dorian Pickens is not able to get open 3-point shots. And SMU has tremendous balance and a lot more weapons.
Shake Milton joins the party. 41-10 SMU. Marcus Allen. Tough shot again.
They're not even looking for Travis.
Steal picked up by Sheffield, and he will go back to the free throw line. Well, Tuesday we keep on bowling with the Boca Raton Bowl between 8-4 Memphis and 10-3 Western Kentucky. 2 high-scoring offenses. This should be a shootout. 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, also streaming live on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN.
Western Kentucky, one of the highest scoring teams in the country. I think like 44 points per game. But they just lost their head coach. How much of a factor do you think that will play into the game tomorrow?
That's always a wild card whenever you get to this time of year when teams are in transition, not just with their coaches, but with their players. We've got more players, more star players opting not to play in bowl games.
We do have that.
Including the folks at Stanford. They understand that Christian McCaffrey has announced through the team that he will not participate in their bowl game so that he can focus on the upcoming NFL draft. And your thoughts on that, Mr. Simon?
I'm not a fan. Okay, I understand why he's doing it. Okay, he's going to be a high draft pick. He was one of my favorite players to watch the last 2 seasons of college basketball. He's in college football. He's so dynamic. But if you're Christian McCaffrey, why are you just sitting out the bowl game? Your team lost their 3rd game of the year by week 7. So you were out of the Pac-12 race. You're out of the national championship race.
and he was pretty much out of the Heisman race, and he was banged up at that time. So to me, why didn't you just wrap it up then and not play the last 5 weeks of the season if you are concerned about getting ready for the draft and getting your body healthy? He carried the ball 133 more times after week 7. And now all of a sudden you're going to sit out the bowl game? I understand you can still get hurt, but he also could have got hurt in any of the other 5 games that he played that were essentially meaningless games for the Cardinal because they weren't going to win anything and they were just going to go to a regular bowl game. Why didn't you just let the next running back play?
So if you're one of his Stanford football teammates, do you have ill will towards him with this decision?
They probably don't, but I would. Because they're his boys. And I've read a lot about Christian McCaffrey and what a stand-up guy he is. And he's one of the toughest players that they have. And he's a hard worker. And I'm sure he's going to have a nice career in the NFL. But sit out after week 7. Or don't play this year.
Well, I think that's where it's headed eventually.
Absolutely.
And in the not-too-distant future. Of course, Leonard Fournette at LSU was also in that same position. And there was a lot of talk when he succeeded so well as an underclassman, why keep playing college football?
Yeah, and I'm okay with him sitting out this bowl game, but just do it earlier.
Yeah.
If you're worried about your pro career.
Ray Foster off the alley-oop from Milton. And Pickens will shoot a pair. At the rate it's going, I think President Bush might get 2 or 4 points here in the first half.
Yeah, it's really easy right now for SMU. Look at Shake Milton getting out in transition, throwing it up high. Ray Foster running the wing and throwing it down.
I think the president is happy.
He might be able to get a basket or two the way Stanford is guarding right now. You can probably spot him up a little bit.
Well, we know he can throw a fastball. 2001 World Series, one of the great moments in all-time sports history. I was fortunate enough to be at Yankee Stadium right after September 11th when that man climbed the mound and threw a bullet. So we know he can throw a baseball. I wonder if he can knock down a jump shot.
Man, if you give anybody enough time, they can make one.
I think he might be feeling it.
I think I can put you out there right now and you're going to get an open 3-point shot.
In political terms, I think this might be a landslide, at least right now, in the favor of Coach Jankovic and his 8-3 Mustangs. He's gone a little deeper into his bench now with Tom Wilson, the freshman from Melbourne, Australia, on the floor. Tough pass to handle. Stanford with the takeaway. Cartwright left it short, and a rebounding foul is going to go against Amelagu, trying to keep Reed Travis from getting that basketball. And that's no easy feat. Reed Travis, 6'8", 245, and he is one big, strong young man.
Yeah, he really is. And this is a hard-working, disciplined young man. I'm friends with this high school coach from De La Salle High School in Minnesota, Dave Thorson. And Dave Thorson had nothing but great things to say about this young man, how hard he worked all summer, changed his free throw stroke, has improved the percentage tremendously. He's up to 70% this year. He's getting to the line 9 times per game.
Wilson had it poked away and rewarded for his defensive effort. Robert Cartwright with the layup.
Right now, if you're Stanford, in the last 4 minutes, I want to compete hard, try to put together 2 or 3 stops at a time. You just got one, and then have some answers on the offensive end, because you can still make a run at some point, and you just want to chip away at this lead in little 4-minute segments.
McDowell has it blocked, but the putback by Moore.
Well, an excellent job by Pickens to come over and block the shot, but someone from the Cardinal has to be able to pick up that basketball and try to get out in transition.
Offensive foul against the Cardinal and against Cartwright. We'll step away from Moody Coliseum. The Mustangs all over the Cardinal. SMU all over Stanford. And again, Stanford has had no answer for the Mustangs. And Ojole's who we talked about off the top. He has really not had to get it going. Here's what he did at Duke for a couple of years coming off the bench for Coach K.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of time or repetitions at Duke, so he came and he found a home here in Dallas at SMU, and he's become arguably their best player. He's so versatile. He's 6'7", but he stretches the floor with his three-point shooting. Coach Jankovic says he's either in class or he's in the gym. He said he's never seen someone work as hard as Semi Ojeleye, and it's really paying off this season. Last year, he's more of a role player when you have Marcus Kennedy, Jordan Tolbert, and Nick Moore, and now he's stepped into this starring role and really, really playing well for this team.
Shot clock at 3. Milton recognizes and just has to put it up. Well, SMU comes into this ball game having won 4 straight games, and they will have a very quick turnaround. They have a rare back-to-back night non-conference schedule. The Albany Great Danes are in town now. They will be here at Moody playing against these SMU Mustangs tomorrow night.
Yeah, tremendously weird to see unless you're in a tournament-type setting for back-to-back games for a college team.
But late, SMU is looking for one more game. They were 1 under the limit. And this fall, they added that, and it was the only date that worked out. And it actually happened last year once for SMU. They played back-to-back in the regular season, and they played well both nights. So Coach Jankovic said, what the heck? A couple of days from now, who knows how he'll feel about it. A Melagu no. And it's Stanford basketball. I asked Coach Jankovic yesterday for a moment at all during the Stanford game, will you give thought to the Albany games? He said, no chance, not a chance. I'm not thinking about it at all. One game at a time.
Well, right now, if you're Stanford, you have to find a way to get number 22 a touch. Reed Travis, he's your best player, your leading scorer, and he has not attempted a shot here in the first half.
And he still has not. 3-second violation.
And that may have been their best offensive set of the night because it was going to end up in a Reed Travis layup. But the 3-second call against Sharma. And still only 1 point from Stanford starters tonight, and that's a free throw by Dorian Pickens.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. And you can't say that this Stanford team is this young, inexperienced team. This is a team that plays a lot of guys that have a ton of experience of getting major minutes in a Cardinal uniform.
But as big a problem as any is that, again, Reed Travis has not taken a shot. He averages over 18 points, nearly 10 rebounds a game. He is your horse. And if you get him the basketball, even if he's not on, he's going to get himself to the free throw line. And as we said off the top, his stated goal is to get his opposite number on the other team into foul trouble. If he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he can't do that.
And it's not all on his teammates in this case. You have to give a lot of credit to the game planning of the SMU staff in what they've done defensively. So they've really crowded around Reed Travis. They're trying to make Stanford, who is a very poor three-point shooting team, 28% on the year, a jump shooting team, and it's worked to a T. So now the adjustment in the second half that Coach Sherrod Haas is going to have to make, and maybe you're going to have to put Reed Travis in some different spots so he can touch the ball and maybe initiate the offense. Put him in the high post, more pick and pops, ball screens, and it might not just be post ups and back to the basket plays for Travis. But I also think the thing I'd be most concerned about is my defense hasn't been good for the Cardinal.
3 to shoot. SMU able to get a good shot. Milton, though, just had it rattle out.
Oh, see, he had to deliver that right there. He was open for the split second, and they didn't get it to him. And Pickens has to be shot ready.
Sanders the lob. Sharma has to come down with it, and he lays it in.
Nice play. Good pass by Sanders. Excellent recognition. Nice job by Sharma presenting himself on the weak side and keeping that basketball up high.
Timeout Mustangs. Well, Stanford's only 3 losses of the year came to Miami, St. Mary's, and Kansas. All good teams. They're up against it here against a good SMU team. Now, coming up on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN, it is Kentucky, Louisville, and another chance to see their fabulous freshman, Malik Monk.
I promise you, Doug, I was on my couch Saturday afternoon watching this game, and I was jumping off my couch many times with the moves that Malik Monk was putting on, the big three after big three that he was hitting. I mean, that was just an incredible performance. One of the best played basketball games, college basketball games that I've ever seen in my life. How about Justin Jackson was an absolute stud. Joel Berry coming off the ankle injury looked phenomenal. De'Aaron Fox, man, I love watching him. He's so fast, can handle the basketball, such a good passer. But just a special, special talent is Malik Monk. I've had the opportunity to work with him through some Nike basketball events. He's a hard worker. He's a humble kid. He can handle the ball, he can shoot it, and he is a freak athlete.
Well, those of you at home cannot see Miles' face when he says that, but he is glowing talking about Mr. Monk and that entire group. So Wednesday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN, another opportunity to see what he will do. Amelagu guarded by Travis. Bounce inside Moore with 2 on the shot clock. They get a layup.
Look at the versatility that this team has. And Sharma now makes a mistake, steps over the line before he inbounds it. But we mentioned it in the open, the versatility that Coach Jankovic has in this lineup. They may not have the biggest guys or a true point guard, but they have a lot of guys with a lot of skill that can do different things. Amelagu can play the 1 through 4 spot. He exposes the mismatch, gets 2 feet in the paint, delivers a beautiful bounce pass around the help. Perfectly executed by the Mustangs.
SMU holding for a final shot here in the half. Here goes Shake Milton. Wilson for 3. And that's about the only thing throughout the first half that didn't go SMU's way. Our halftime score, SMU 48, Stanford 19. Now let's send you to Andy Katz and Seth Greenberg in the studio.
You're watching ESPN's Holiday Hoops, presented by Zales.
All right, it's a hell of a feeling though. It's a hell of a feeling though. All right, it's a hell of a feeling though. It's a hell of a feeling
Welcome back to the American Conference on ESPN as part of Holiday Hoops presented by Zales at Moody Coliseum in Dallas, where SMU has as many made field goals, 19, as Stanford has points. And welcome back, everybody, to Big D. Along with Miles Simon, I'm Doug Sherman. Stanford as a team, its starting unit is a collective 0 for 9 right now.
And it's no surprise. I mean, SMU has done a great job on the defensive end in limiting everything that Stanford wants to do. They've taken away Reed Travis, they shut down Dorian Pickens, and then there was just no other answers. And SMU had everything clicking. A balanced team, a versatile team on the offensive end. They have 2 starters in double figures. They're sharing the ball, 15 assists on 19 baskets. They've done it on the defensive end, getting steals, getting out in transition. Total domination by the Mustangs in the first half, where Stanford just looked completely lost on both ends of the floor.
Here's some of the numbers. Beautiful for SMU, not so much for Stanford. The lead was as much as 32 in the first half. And Miles, what can Stanford do to get back in this ball game?
Well, first of all, they have to get Reed Travis, number 22, as many touches in the second half as possible. And I like this first play drawn up, get him the ISO at the elbow, just not able to convert.
That was his first shot attempt of the ball game.
But then what they have to do is be better on the defensive side of the floor. So now they double team in the post, they get the rotation, but they have to really just compete for these last 20 minutes. And you might not win this basketball game,
but you want to play as hard as you can, get something out, execute, get better on the defensive end here. Because you got league play in a tough Pac-12 right around the corner.
Stanford was picked to finish closer to the bottom than the top this year. Travis blocks the shot from Ogilvy. But they have had their moments so far this year and make you think that perhaps they can outperform the projections.
Well, I think they can, because this is a team that has experience. They have some talent on the floor. They have some toughness. They have size. They have a dominant post player when he can get the basketball. They have a good shooter in Dorian Pickens. They have to have some of the role guys step up and play better than they have throughout the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season.
Air ball by Foster. Brown. Travis Reed clears the rebound for the Cardinal. Well, this season for Stanford, Miles, began with a 12,592-mile trip to Shanghai, China to play Harvard. 80-70, they won the ball game. And it has been a lot more travel ever since, just racking up the frequent flyer miles, including coming here to Dallas for this single game. Travis on the board.
Well, you can tell right now there's a little bit more fight and a little bit more toughness just in the first minute and 45 seconds by the Cardinal. Now the challenge for Tim Jankovic and the SMU Mustangs is to not get complacent. Continue to execute just like that.
Foster has matched his season average with 9. Here comes the double team.
See, they're not going to let Reed Travis get anything easy. They're going to make him work, and his teammates are going to have to step up and start making some shots.
Jimmy Ogilvy, a little strong. Verhoeven with the rebound. SMU one and done.
See, Pickens wants to slow it down and get into it. The offense hasn't worked too well. Reed Travis getting on the offensive glass, but Dorian Pickens had a great chance to catch and shoot at 17 feet. You're the best shooter on the team. You're down by 30. Go ahead and take that opportunity.
Ben Moore, quick first step. No. Travis with another rebound. He's going to try and take Moore off the bounce, and he gets the foul call against 0-0.
Well, watch this play. This is called an Iverson cut, as Jere Foster comes over the top of the two guys, and then if you're Sanders right there and you cut over the top, they're just going to go back door in a perfect lob, and then Sanders right here with the pull-up jumper, but Reed Travis anticipates the miss, gets inside of Ogilvy, and gets the easy putback. He averages 3 offensive rebounds per game.
So the junior captain out of De La Salle in Minneapolis. And by the way, when asked earlier today, you a Vikings fan? Oh, yeah. You a Twins fan? Oh, yeah. All across the board. He and his teammates start to pick it up here in the second half. Marcus Sheffield leads all scorers for the Cardinal. And that brings the Moody Coliseum crowd back to life a little bit.
Well, the tendency for most college teams is when you get those big leads, you kind of relax and you get complacent and you don't play as hard each and every possession and do what got you that huge lead. And right now on the defensive end, SMU is not as in tune as they were in the first half.
It's a 7-2 run for Stanford. Milton catch and shoot. They do make it look easy on the offensive end.
Yeah, and Shake Milton is so much more comfortable when he can play off the ball, and he's had trouble this year because he's playing the point guard spot of finding a great balance between passing and scoring. He's a natural scorer, and they've done more of playing him off the ball the last couple games. Therefore, he's averaging 17 points per game in those 2 games. But you can see the comfort level that he has when he doesn't have to really distribute. His biggest thing is to be aggressive and be just a playmaker in general, whether that's scoring or passing. There it is. Beautiful.
Brown from Milton for 2 more.
That's good basketball right there. That's a great balance. The last possession, Shake Milton open off a screen for a 3. And there he reads the back door and delivers the pass perfectly for the lob.
Travis from the high post, blocked by Moore. Travis has it back, still working in the paint and able to score.
He's such a horse down low. 9 free throw attempts per game, 18 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds. But he's a physically strong. He has big hands, broad shoulders. Was a spread offense quarterback in high school at De La Salle.
How far did he say he could throw a football?
Said he can throw it in high school alone, could throw it 70 yards.
Brown puts up an air ball. Here comes Stanford. Sheffield, dump it off. Layup is good by Robert Cartwright.
Well, everything clicking still in Moody Coliseum for the SMU Mustangs. You overplay, I go back door, and I make you pay. Sterling Brown, looking like his brother Shannon.
The playoff semifinal for college football is just around the corner. We are deep in the heart of Texas where football is king, but not here on the SMU campus. It is a basketball school for sure, and they love what their ponies are doing tonight. All over Stanford. But there is a football tie. Cortland Sutton is a standout wide receiver on the SMU football team. Within the next couple of weeks, he's going to decide if he will rejoin the basketball team here at SMU for the remainder of the season.
Well, that can be a real bonus for Tim Jankovic and this team because, remember, they just had a player transfer out of the program. Harry Froling, a highly regarded recruit out of Australia, has decided to leave SMU. And so now this is a team that's already depleted by a loss of scholarships. They're really only playing 7 guys in their rotation, but in case of injury or foul trouble, now you get a good athlete that you can put back on the floor. But it'll take some time for him to obviously learn the plays, get used to the conditioning aspect because football conditioning and basketball conditioning are completely different. But it could be a bonus for this team if he comes out and plays.
Well, he is a 6'4" guard who was a basketball star in Brenham, Texas, back in high school, and he did join the team last year, January 28th. Got into 3 games for Larry Brown, and as you say, while he may not be bringing a lot of points and rebounds, in practice he's another good athlete to help you out, and then in a pinch in a game, you certainly don't mind having a superior athlete on the floor. At free throw line, Ben Moore, the senior from Bolingbrook, Illinois. That's a Chicago suburb. Preseason first team All-American Athletic Conference. His numbers this year about the same from where they were last year. And he's been one of the cornerstones of what has been one of the real golden eras in SMU basketball.
Yeah, and he's really having to do a little bit of everything for this team. He's kind of slight of build. He's only 6'8", 220. He's playing literally the 5 spot for this team. But he doesn't mind it. He rebounds, he runs the floor. Almost like a perfect glue guy for Jankovic's squad.
And he is a true leader. There he is getting his hand on a pass.
And he's the guy that's gotten the main assignment. Look how he moved his feet right there and showed his hands as to not draw a foul.
Then he goes and challenges as the help side defender and blocks the shot. Ogilvy fighting for it, and it's a held ball.
Really good defensive sequence there by Ben Moore. Not only did he cut off the drive from Reed Travis, then the rule of verticality that's really come into play for college basketball this year. Look, he moves his feet, shows his hands, doesn't give up the drive, and then now he gets in perfect help side position. The baseline drive is given up, and see how he goes straight up and shows his hands? There is an area or a plane there for defenders to come over on the weak side. The NBA has had it for a number of years, but now college has made it a point of emphasis because too many of those guys were being called for fouls when they were going straight up, and Ben Moore executes it to perfection.
Got a bloody lip out of that terrific defensive sequence. But I'll tell you, yesterday's practice for Tim Jankovic and his assistant coaches, as much as anything, they were working with that young man to defend the post exactly like he just did.
Yeah, he's been tremendous tonight and against Reed Travis and denying him the basketball, really using his feet because he gives up a lot of strength to Reed Travis. He's gotten off of Travis's body and not let post guys like to feel you in the post. They like to know where their guy is because they usually have their back to their defender. But Ben Moore's done a good job of getting around Reed Travis, and then there's been ball pressure. It's really been team defense to make the post entries tough. And then there's been a help side guy behind or near Reed Travis.
And so as Ben Moore heads to the locker room for treatment, they clean up the blood off the floor, and also each of the players check to see if they had any blood on them. It didn't look like it was going to be anything significant for Moore, but just stoppage of play here for a short while. But what do you see out of SMU in the American this year? I mean, Cincinnati seems to be the clear #1. They were the preseason conference favorite. UConn has not played anywhere near to what expectations were, but they've also dealt with injury. Houston was picked #4, Memphis 5, SMU at #3, right in that mix.
Well, Cincinnati really stands out, and I had their game a couple weeks ago when they went on the road at Iowa State, one of the hardest places to play in college basketball, and got a win there. Jacob Evans is a stud, Troy Copain, and Kyle Washington is the guy that's really changed that team, gives them a great inside presence that can score and shot block. I really like Houston and what Kelvin Sampson has. Rob Gray is a stud, Damian Dotson down there. UConn is obviously the team that is the most disappointing. Injuries a big part of that. Terry Larriere out for the year with the ACL. Tariq Gilbert, one of their highly thought of freshmen, is out with a shoulder injury. But I think it could be a very good league, a balanced league. Memphis went on the road and got a nice win at Oklahoma this weekend. The Lawson brothers are having excellent years right now. And we've seen UCF down in the Charleston Classic. Now they have their starting point guard, BJ Taylor, is hurt. They're kind of similar to SMU in the fact that they really only have 7 guys that are going to play. But those 7 guys are pretty good.
Those guys coached by the former Stanford coach Johnny Dawkins, who recruited this roster here to Stanford. And we didn't mention Taco Fall. He had another unbelievable stat line in their win yesterday. 31 points, a new career high, and what was he, 10 for 11 from the floor?
One of my favorite players now in college basketball. But he's not my favorite just because he's 7'6". It's because he's balling, and he has improved so much in a short amount of time. His hands are better. He's making better post moves. We already know he's going to be a defensive presence. He's running the floor. The game is not too fast for him. If you haven't seen Taco Fall play, you got to check him out if you get to see a UCF game.
Yeah, on any given night, if you allow him to post within 3 or 4 feet of the basket, he's going to tear you apart, because all he has to do is turn, reach up, and slam it on you.
Now again, Stanford's going to the smaller line of Cameron Walker at the 4. He is a versatile forward, but they're almost matching down to what SMU does, and I like that from Dorian Pickens.
First good look we've seen him get in their half-court set.
Well, this is a team that had only made 35 threes coming into tonight, and Pickens had 16 of them. Young man from Pinnacle High School in Phoenix. Excellent catch and shoot.
Ogilvy misfires from the perimeter, and it's Stanford basketball. But we just saw Dorian Pickens make his first field goal of the ball game. I read yesterday where he owns 150 pairs of shoes.
We have a lot of things in common.
But he doesn't have anything on the number of shoes you've got in your closet, right, Miles?
Yeah, I got about 350 to 400. But that's a good start for him.
He's young.
Yeah, he's young. So his is only going to grow, and look at that passing.
A little showtime here at Moody.
What an unselfish team. Fun to watch.
Now it looks like Sharma is wobbly on his feet, and so the officials have stopped play to make sure he's okay. He nearly went down as he was trying to get back up court. You can see he is very much in need of some assistance. So the 7-foot sophomore from Lexington, Massachusetts, goes out after this.
Well, you see Sharma right there trailing the play. Oh, and he just catches a forearm or elbow from Ogilvy as Ogilvy's coming down after the dunk.
And Ogilvy is not the guy you want to take an elbow from. He is built like a football player. 8 minutes gone here in the second. Stanford made a push coming out of the locker room, but it's still 60-33 SMU. Layup missed by Walker. And a foul on the rebound.
Well, this team has been sharing the sugar all night, Doug. And no different on this fast break. The turnover, they get out in transition. First, it's my man Shake Milton, then the over the head, and then the dunk by Semi Ojeleye.
Monday Night Football at SportsCenter at night with Scott Van Pelt. He'll have a complete postgame wrap-up and finish the day the SVP way with all the sports news and highlights. Plus, his one big thing is bad beats and the best thing he saw today. And that might include something from this ball game. Plenty to choose from. SportsCenter at night after Panthers Redskins on ESPN, and the Mustangs have been, well, alley-ooping one after another after another.
Yeah, well, SVP is going to have his pick of highlights tonight. Here's a sweet one on the back door, the lob to Jere Foster. This one on the back door to Sterling Brown. It's been dunk after dunk, hashtag SC Top 10, but this is my favorite. The behind the back, then the over the head, and then you get Semi Ojeleye throwing it down.
You know, UCLA is the team so far this year that epitomizes selflessness on the offensive end and in transition. We have seen similar tendencies out of these Mustangs tonight. And that's kind of the way the night has gone for Stanford, in and out again.
You know, when I talked to Coach Jankovic after shoot-around today, he said with this team not having a true center or a true point guard, that they want to kind of play positionless basketball, that it doesn't matter who gets the rebound, who pushes it up, who they run the offense through. It's almost, is it Golden State Warrior-esque? Because of the way Golden State, Draymond Green runs the point guard for him sometimes, Kevin Durant, any of those guys can bring the ball up the floor and initiate offense. And then you become a versatile team on the defensive end with all the guys that can play multiple positions.
Megaloo. And why wouldn't you do it that way? I mean, you need to accentuate what you have on your roster. You can't go to the waiver wire and pick somebody up, so why not play to your team's strengths? And clearly, the versatility of this SMU team is its strength. There's some of the balance we've been talking about. Sterling Brown, 13 points to lead the way. And again, Tim Jankovic only goes 7 or 8 deep depending on the night. And when you're getting that kind of balance, you don't need to go any deeper.
Yeah, we talked about it in the first half. If you have 7 guys that can just ball, and SMU has that, they have 7 good players, as long as you don't have any injuries, you're going to have some foul trouble in some games. I mean, that's just going to happen. But if they can stay healthy, this is a team that's going to contend for the top 2 or 3 spots, 4 spots in the AAC, because there's that type of talent on this roster.
Back when you were playing at Arizona back in the mid-90s, how did that sort of thing play out in terms of your rotations with Lute Olson, and did it benefit you guys sometimes only to have 7 or 8 in a rotation as Travis lays it in?
It really did, and I'll go back to our national championship year. So our starting guards were myself, Mike Bibby, and Michael Dickerson. We brought 1 guard off the bench. And that was Jason Terry. Now it's a heck of a guard to bring off the bench.
That's a pretty good guard.
Heck of a guard to bring off the bench. I know Dallas people in the Dallas area love Jason Terry because he helped bring a championship to the Mavericks a few years back. And then they had, Coach Olson had a 3-man, 4-man post rotation. So we started A.J. Bramlett and Bennett Davidson, and then Eugene Ederson and Donnell Harris kind of split the minutes depending on the game. So we really played 7, a little bit of 8 guys. But here was the advantage. When we played teams that played 9 or 10 guys, if I averaged 32 or 33 minutes per game, and the starters on that other team were only playing 27 to 29, there was going to be a 4-minute stretch at probably some point in the game where myself and Mike Bibby and Michael Dickerson are getting to play against the 2nd and 3rd tier guards on that other team. That was advantage for us. And if you go on a little run in those times, sometimes that's the separation you need to beat good teams.
And that's sort of the formula we see playing out, especially tonight for SMU. At the shot clock. Nice drive by Cartwright.
Yeah, this is a young man I'm very high on. Robert Cartwright is coming back from a devastating compound fracture in his right forearm last year, where he had 3 surgeries to recover, sat out the year, redshirted. But he's a tough, scrappy, gritty guard. Can handle the ball. He hasn't shot the ball well this year, but he is more than capable of doing that. I think by the end of the year, Robert Cartwright is going to end up being the starting point guard for the Stanford Cardinal.
Offensive foul charge against Ogilvy.
Nice job by Pickens rotating over and taking the charge.
He's had a relatively quiet night. Came in averaging nearly 18 points per game. He's got 7 after picking up his 3rd personal foul.
And if you're Jared Haas right now in the Stanford staff, you have to be very happy with what you're seeing in the second half. Now, obviously, the first 20 minutes was a complete disaster. Your team didn't compete that hard. They didn't execute on either end of the floor. But this half, they're executing on the offensive end. They're getting good balance, and they're competing very hard on the defensive end against a good SMU team.
Verhoeven, nice pass back to Cartwright. Nice job to recover and save the turnover of Meligu. Milton lobs it toward the bench and out of bounds. Well, Jared Haas, where were you 20 years ago? I know where my broadcast partner was 20 years ago. We'll show you both when we come comfortably in front of Stanford 60-37. My partner, Miles Simon, and Jared Haas, the head coach of the Cardinal, well, they have met before. Let's turn back the clock 20 years. And what do you remember about Kansas v. Arizona more than once?
I don't remember a lot about this game. Obviously, I remember that we won the game and we upset arguably the best team in the nation. And as Kansas fans always tell me, the greatest team in Kansas history. Paul Pierce, Jacques Vaughn, Rafe LaFrance, Scott Pollard. I mean, they were a loaded squad. They had only 1 loss. I think it was a double overtime to Mizzou. And we pull off the upset, obviously, as a 4 seed over Kansas as a 1. But I don't remember, I honestly don't remember much about that game, about how it went down. I know we got a big lead and they came back. But I remember the year before.
Okay.
We played Kansas in the Sweet 16 the year before. Our roster was much different. Theirs was much the same. We played them in Denver. And Jared Haas hit a game-sealing 3-point shot from the left corner because of my bad defensive rotation. I think I overhelped on a ball side drive, and I explained that in the first half tonight on why players should never do that. And he hit a 3 right in my face to win that game. And they played Syracuse the next game. I believe they lost, and Syracuse went to the Final Four. But it's funny, I always remember losses more so than wins.
Well, Travis may remember this one then, if that is the way it goes, because it's not been a good night at the office for the Cardinal. That slam draws them back within 21.
But you know, it's a tale of 2 halves, and it's teaching moments for Jared Haas and this team going forward into league play to show what you can be if you compete and execute the right way and play basketball the right way in the second half, how much better this team is.
And you know, Haas was an excellent college basketball player. Played his freshman year in the same backcourt with Jason Kidd at Cal. So that's pretty good right there. And then you transfer when they had a coaching change to Kansas, and you play 3 years for Roy Williams, wound up with over 1,200 career points. And that set up a lifelong relationship with Coach Williams that lasts today and has helped to set up Jared Haas to be where he is right now. Good finish by Shake Milton, and that snaps a 6-0 Stanford run.
And I really like what I'm seeing from Shake Milton, and I know he hasn't shot the ball or scored it as well tonight, but in the games that I've watched, especially the last couple, he's really finding a comfort zone and a balance between passing and scoring, which is something that Coach Jankovic will need. I spent time around Milton at the Nike Basketball Academy this summer, where he competed against some of the best guards in the country, Juwan Evans, Monte Morris, Jalen Brunson, and he was excellent in that 3-day camp.
Terrific shovel pass. Ogilvy absorbs the contact and will shoot 2. Now you talk about that camp that you were at. What was the competition like there? You referenced that, but people don't necessarily know who they're actually playing with and against.
Well, it was the best college players in the country. 20 or 21 guys like Josh Hart, Alec Peters, Chris Boucher, Jordan Bell, Tyler Dorsey, Jerron Blossomgame. And so some of the elite college basketball players are invited out to LA. I'm the director of the Nike Basketball Academy for the first time last summer, and they come out and they work on skill development with a ton of NBA coaches. There's NBA scouts that are watching the workouts. They'll scrimmage at nighttime. They do some strength and conditioning and agility workouts in the morning time. It's really a super competitive 3.5 days. And on top of that, the top 60 to 65 high school players are there at the same time, obviously competing against each other, not against the college guys.
Ogilvy goes out, receives a nice round of applause. And Moore has gotten that bleeding stopped. He's taped up, has a big bandage on his lower lip. And he kicked the ball. And so Stanford will keep it. You mentioned Josh Hart was one of those elite college players who was out there. Did you see this past summer the way that he was going to jump into being potentially the National Player of the Year for Villanova this year?
Yes, I did, because if you go on ESPN.com and our preseason predictions, there was 2 people that picked Josh Hart to be National Player of the Year.
I'm guessing you were one of them.
I was. And Eamon Brennan was the other.
Okay.
So only 2 guys picked Josh Hart. And the thing that I saw from Josh Hart, I knew he was going to get more of a starring role this year. But I saw the work ethic, the improved jump shot in just that short amount of time that I was with him this summer. So you could see big things coming for him. But the guy you couldn't see coming, that is probably, I would have to say second right now, at least if I had a vote, is Luke Kennard. And Luke Kennard had another big game. Out of all the guys on Duke, Grayson Allen, Harry Giles, Jason Tatum, you had all these guys to choose from. And Luke Kennard is having a monster first 2 months of the season for Duke.
When given the opportunity, he has done the job better than you could have ever imagined. And now it's not surprising when you go to your bench, you're going to have one McDonald's All-American after another. So you shouldn't be that surprised at Duke when somebody comes off the bench and succeeds. But to do it at the level that he has done has really been eye-opening.
He's one of my favorite players to watch, man. He's so smooth. He's 6'6", can shoot the 3, puts the ball on the floor well, really knows how to use screens.
SMU has cooled off here down the stretch, but they had built such a large lead, as much as 32 in the first half. It was 44-12. They jumped out to a 14-0 lead, and they have not allowed Stanford to get back in it. They chipped away a little bit, but not to any great effect. And so Deshaun McDowell at the line. Do you think the defending champs from Villanova have a real chance of making it back-to-back for the first time since Florida?
Absolutely.
I mean, they are legit through and through.
Absolutely.
Well, how about Wednesday's Bluegrass State rivalry game? Blue versus red, Calipari, Patino, number 6 Kentucky, number 10 Louisville. Coverage begins at 6:30 Eastern. It's a Holiday Hoops matchup presented by Zales, and it is a sonic blockbuster.
And let me tell you why. Okay, one, they have a legit National Player of the Year that we already mentioned in Josh Hart.
Right.
Jalen Brunson is one of the best point guards in the country.
Yep.
He's much improved. He runs the show. He is one of the leaders of that team. You get Dante DiVincenzo, who I'm very high on. Great athlete, a good defender, can shoot the 3. Chris Jenkins is much improved. Now, I know they lost Ochefu, who was the anchor on the defensive end, and that's a nice drive by Sheffield. He's had a good second half. But Reynolds is good in the post. Villanova legit can win it back-to-back.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Zales. Celebrate your lasting love with gifts from Zales, the Diamond Store.
Dallas. And let's take a look at the Pac-12 news and notes. And you know, at this point of the season, there are still 6 teams in the country who have yet to taste defeat, and 2 of them are in the Pac-12. UCLA, of course. USC, kind of the surprise to be there.
Well, UCLA is as fun to watch as anybody in the country. Think about the Lonzo Ball effect. Now, I live in Southern California, and Lonzo Ball is from Chino Hills, about 20 or 30 minutes from where I live, and I got to see him play some high school games. But at the end of last season in Westwood, they were flying planes. They were flying a plane.
Yeah.
A plane. Doug, a plane.
Oh, yeah.
With a banner that saying "Fire Steve Alford."
Yes.
Now all of a sudden they're in the national title hunt.
Yes.
And I know TJ Leaf has been an absolute stud, but Lonzo Ball has had a tremendous effect. He's just so unselfish. He doesn't care about really getting the shine. He's such a good passer. He's a long, athletic defender, plays the passing lanes, but he just gets everyone involved, and guys are playing their natural positions. Alford more comfortable at the 2 spot. They're so fun to watch, man.
And don't forget about the other freshman, Ike Onomodu, who has brought something to that team that it really needed. I mean, Thomas Welsh, when healthy, is the starting center. There's no question about that. But the rim protection and physicality was something that they didn't have at all last year. Now they've got that this year with the other quote-unquote member of that freshman class.
Yeah, and that USC team, they're flying under the radar. They've had a couple good wins. They beat this SMU team. They beat Texas A&M on the road. But they have a stud in Chemezi Metu, post player that can run the floor, excellent shot blocker. They're missing their starting forward right now. Benny Boatwright is out with a knee injury, but they'll get him back soon. The Oregon Ducks, I feel, are still trying to find their rhythm, and I feel they will. I saw Dylan Brooks was in the starting lineup for the first time the other night and had a nice game, but they have a deep and talented roster. And the Arizona Wildcats, who you had this past weekend, I feel they're like as gritty and as tough as they come. They're playing with 7 guys right now. 3 guards and 4 bigs.
Yep.
And Sean Miller's doing an excellent job of rotating them all, marking and moving out to the perimeter when he has to. They lost Ray Smith to the knee injury. Parker Jackson Cartwright is out with the ankle. And we don't know if Lonzo Trier is going to come back or if he comes back. But if he does, that puts Arizona right in contention for the Final Four and for a league title. Lonzo Trier can be the difference maker for that team.
Well, Joe Lunardi has 4 teams from the Pac-12 in the field of 68 right now, with Cal and Colorado in his among the next 4 out. So that's very much 6 right there in the mix as we head towards Christmas.
Colorado had a nice win against Xavier just a couple weeks ago. And trust me, this Stanford team is going to upset some people in that league. They have the talent to do so.
Sheffield, little floater in the lane.
With the consistent minutes that Sheffield has gotten tonight, he's really looked phenomenal on the court, putting it on the floor, getting to the paint, finishing.
Well, his current coach, Jared Haas, says, quote, sky's the limit when it comes to Marcus Sheffield. And that's the exact same thing that Coach Dawkins and his staff felt about this young man from Alpharetta, Georgia. 5 to shoot for the Mustangs. Ogilvy turned it over, taken away by Humphrey.
Well, look how they're continuing to compete. They're down 24 with less than 2 minutes left. And that's arguably maybe their best defensive possession of the night.
Near steal by Sterling Brown, but he did step on the sideline. Well, the annual NBA on Christmas Day tradition continues with 5 of the best gifts anyone could ask for. Beginning at noon Eastern, Celtics-Knicks on ESPN. At 2:30 on ABC, it's an NBA Finals rematch between the Warriors and Cavs, followed at 5 when the Bulls take on the Spurs. And then back over to ESPN, T-Wolves Thunder, and wrap up the day at 10:30 Eastern, Clippers-Lakers from Staples Center.
God, so many great storylines in the NBA this year. How fun is that Warriors-Cavs game going to be on Christmas Day? Russell Westbrook with the triple-doubles. Watching Tim Duncan get his jersey retired and Greg Popovich talk about him last night. That was so cool.
Reach-in foul stops the clock. Well, I would say that President George W. Bush has enjoyed his time here at Moody Coliseum tonight. He is the first fan of the SMU Mustangs, and you know, he's got his presidential library and museum on campus, actually almost right next door to where we sit here. And ever since that building has been built, he and Mrs. Bush have been regular attendants. sitting front row, and they get here right before tip-off, never leave before it's over, and fully engaged in watching the ball game. And why not on a night like tonight?
Yeah, it's so cool that he comes out and supports. And he was here early. He doesn't like come in, you know, right as the game is already, the tip is going, or come in late. He was here early in his seat, excited to watch this Mustang team. Now, I've met one president. I was fortunate enough to go to the White House after we won the national title and meet Bill Clinton, but this is the closest that I've been to another president, so it's a cool experience, man.
It is, and I have had the fortune of meeting 3 presidents so far. Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, and the man to our left. Wow. Time is going to be called just to get some reserves into the game for SMU and allow the starters to get a well-earned round of applause. We'll step away and come back to Moody Coliseum. It's all SMU.
I had to say around my freshman year, I started playing with older guys, and I couldn't be goofy anymore. So it was like, either I'll be goofy and get exposed, or I'll be serious and get the job done. It's a mentality.
Whenever you see Sonic Blockbuster, you know you got to watch it. It's going to be a big game. Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Those 2 in-state rivals. Back here in Dallas with Miles Simon, I'm Doug Sherman. It has been all Mustangs now with 31 seconds to go. SMU has shown tremendous signs as they head toward the Christmas holiday. They've got a quick turnaround to play Albany here at Moody tomorrow night.
Yeah, I really like this SMU team, especially what they showed tonight, the versatility that they have on both ends of the floor, the attention to detail in the scouting report, and really limiting Reed Travis and Dorian Pickens tonight. It was spot on.
We had that one defensive sequence that actually bloodied Ben Moore's lip, but on the defensive end, he did to a T what his coaches taught him in practice yesterday, and that's been part of the equation for SMU. A very impressive night for Coach Jankovic and the Mustangs, who improved to 9-3. With the 43rd president of the United States in the building, SMU rolls past Stanford.
Well, a very impressive effort by the Mustangs. Balanced scoring. The team doesn't have a ton of depth, but the guys that they do have can really play. Stanford, a tale of 2 halves. Didn't show up in the first half, but in the second half, Coach Jared Haas will be happy with how his team competed.
Ben Moore has a fat lip for his trouble.